Let's talk about one of the biggest shifts happening in technology right now. It's artificial intelligence, and it is completely rewiring how we build software. And, this isn't some far-off science fiction concept anymore. It is happening today, and it's turning decades of how we code completely on its head.
This quote, it just perfectly captures the dream, doesn't it? The idea of a single magic button that just fixes everything. Taking these ancient COBOL systems, that's a programming language that's been around since the 1950s, but still runs so much of our world, and getting back something new, shiny, and perfect. It's an amazing fantasy. But the reality? Oh, the reality is so much messier, so much more challenging, and honestly, way more interesting.
To really get why this AI revolution is such a massive deal, we first have to understand the world that most software actually lives in. And let me tell you, it is a messy world, filled with ghosts from the past.
At the very heart of the problem is this idea of technical debt. The best way to think about it is like a mortgage on your code. You took a shortcut to get a feature out the door quickly, and now you're stuck paying interest on that decision, pretty much forever. Every new thing you try to build, every bug you need to fix, it's just harder and more expensive because of that debt you took on years ago.
And this really highlights the big paradox of these old systems. Sure, they might be ancient, they might be clunky, but they're absolutely mission critical. They process billions of dollars, they run our infrastructure, and the thing is, they just work. You can't just turn them off, but you also can't pretend it's easy to change them.
And this gets to the human story behind it all. See, technical debt isn't just about bad code. It's a living, breathing history of your business. It's the story of Bob's quick fix from way back in 1997, a decision he made under pressure that's now just baked into the system's DNA. Bob probably retired years ago, but his code lives on.
Okay, so into this complicated world of legacy code and mounting technical debt, a new hero steps onto the scene, the AI supercoder. This is the exciting part. This is where we look at the incredible promise of what AI can actually bring to the table.
And the capabilities are just staggering. We are talking about generating whole chunks of code from a simple English sentence, automating the really soul-crushing work of testing and finding bugs. It can even write the documentation that, let's be honest, nobody ever wants to write. AI can suggest whole new ways to design your software, optimize slow code, and yes, it can even start to tackle that massive mountain of legacy code we've been talking about.
And this isn't just a theory, this is real. Check this out. At Amazon, their internal AI coding assistant called Amazon Q took the time it takes to upgrade old Java applications from 6 weeks down to just 6 hours. That's not just a small improvement, that is a fundamental change in the entire economics of how we maintain software. Okay, so that all sounds pretty amazing, right? Almost too good to be true. And this is the point where we need to take a deep breath and have ourselves a little reality check. We have got to separate the hype from what's actually happening on the ground today. So the fantasy is that AI is a magic button. You feed in your messy, tangled code and poof, out comes perfection. But the reality is, it's more like having a very, very powerful, incredibly fast junior developer on your team. It has phenomenal technical knowledge, but it has absolutely zero business context. It has no idea about your company's appetite for risk or your specific customer agreements, or why that weird workaround that Bob from accounting made is actually business critical. And that lack of context, it has some serious real-world consequences. Academic studies are now finding that over 40% of the code that these AI tools generate contains security vulnerabilities. And why is that? Well, it's because the models were trained on just massive amounts of public code from the internet, the good, the bad, and the very, very insecure. And we're not just seeing the same old bugs we're used to. AI is introducing entirely new kinds of risk. It can create something called a dependency explosion, pulling in dozens of open source packages you've never heard of, which just blows up your potential attack surface. It can even hallucinate dependencies. That is, it suggests using a software package that doesn't even exist, which an attacker can then create and fill with malicious code. These are new AI-native problems we have to get ready for.
So if AI isn't a magic button, and it actually comes with all these new risks, what's the solution? Well, it is not to abandon the technology. No way. It's to fundamentally change our relationship with it. This is all about shifting your role from just being a coder to being an orchestrator of a human AI team.
And this brings us right back to this core idea of a partnership. The AI is that junior partner. It has a perfect encyclopedic memory of all the technical stuff. But you, the human, You're the one who provides the wisdom. You bring the business context, the architectural vision, and the critical judgment that the AI simply does not have.
So what does that actually look like day to day? It's a conversation. You don't just shout a single command and hope for the best. First, you ask it to do something. Then, and this is the crucial part, you provide the business context. Next, you have to critically review what it gives you back, looking for those security flaws and logical mistakes. And finally, you refine. You give it specific feedback to guide it toward the right answer. It's a loop, a back and forth.
Here's a great visual of what that process looks like. You can see the initial prompt is pretty simple, and it gets you a first draft. But the real magic, the real value, is in the follow-up, where the human guides the AI, pointing out what's missing, what needs to change. This is what pair programming looks like now. You're not replacing the developer, you're giving them a superpower.
So how do you actually put all this into practice? You can't just wing it. It really requires a strategic approach. So let's walk through a little playbook for how to get started.
Okay, first, you assess. Use AI like a code archaeologist to map out your tangled old systems and find a small, safe place to start. Second, build gradually. Don't try to build one giant AI that does everything. Instead, create smaller, specialized models for specific jobs, like testing or security scanning. Third, you have to measure everything. Track the time saved, the bugs found, developer happiness. You need that data to prove the value and build trust. And finally, you scale thoughtfully, taking what you learn from your small wins and applying it to bigger, more critical projects. Ultimately, this whole thing brings us to a really critical choice. AI is not some trend that's going to fade away. The companies that figure out how to build this collaborative human-AI partnership are going to get a massive competitive advantage. They're going to ship better software faster, and they'll have happier developers. The ones who just wait for some perfect, magical solution, they're going to be left behind, still wrestling with the same old problems. So the question really is, which camp would you rather be in?